Hi everyone and welcome to today's video in this further math series on median, range and interquartile range, which is a continuation of all the videos we've done before on data. We have looked at so much data it's actually terrifying, but you're not here for that. You want to know what this interquartile range is, you want to know what the range is, the median, and why we would use various different ones of those for various different questions. Stick with it. Gonna get brilliant, okay? There might even be a reference even to Ghost the movie. Too much information. You're probably not even old enough to remember that rather classic movie. If you are new to my channel, hey guys and welcome. If you are not new to my channel, oh, hey guys and welcome. But if you are new, can you do me the honor, please, of subscribing? There is a red arrow over there pointing to a doohickey in the corner, which when you click, you subscribe. I'm a small person trying to do a pretty large job. That's all these videos for Australia, the UK, America. It never ends, but I actually quite enjoy it. But it's nice to know you're watching, and subscribing actually really helps me. So as I say in previous lessons of this particular series on YouTube and on MaffsGuru.com, we've already looked at how to describe data using things like shape and outliers, center, spread, and all of this is critically important because for this particular course, you're going to have to write comparisons between data. When you do your SAC, you're going to look at sort of given data and sort of compare it and look at all of these key features. So the more you learn, the more you understand what you're doing, the better. Now we have the median, and funnily enough, and I know this sounds really bizarre, I've just taught this to my Year 8 group, okay? And median, as I say here, sounds like medium. Now, if I can, behind me, hopefully there is a clip of the one and the only Whoopi Goldberg, who played the medium, fake medium, in Ghost with Patrick Swayze. Now, funny thing was she actually ended up hearing him. Oh, spoiler alert. Now, obviously a medium is some go-between, the middle between sort of the land of the living and the land of the not-so-living. But it's also, you go into a shop and buy medium, you buy something in the middle. So actually we're looking for the middle number. And you're sitting there going, I already know this, why are you telling me again? It builds, I promise you. So finding the middle of the numbers is actually relatively simple, so long as there aren't that many numbers. To find the middle, the first thing you have to do is put them in order. And so what you can see here is I've put those numbers in order. 1, 2, 3. That was German, yes. What's the middle number? Well, pretty obviously 2. Now, please don't fast forward. There is a point to this. But yes, my median is 2. And so if I wanted to, I'd write median equals 2. I'd get a tick in an exam. Nah, they're never going to ask you that in an exam. But I'm going to go on and say, well, okay, finding the middle between sort of the numbers 1, 2, and 3 wasn't particularly difficult. What about finding the middle between 1 to 11? Well, if you are back in Year 8 or Year 9 and you've had me as a teacher, the chances are I'll ask you to just keep crossing numbers off the end, one off the end, and keep going closer and closer and closer until, lo and behold, we hit our middle number. So in this situation, 6 would be our median. And it also happens that because I've chosen those numbers 1 to 11, the 6th number is my middle. Look up here, we'll go back to this one here. I had 3 numbers, 2 was my middle number, or the second one was my middle number. So what about this data set here? What about if I had all the numbers in order between 1, 2, 3, 4, and it keeps going all the way up to 103? How on earth do I find that middle number? Well, quite simply, really, because you've already seen the idea here that I have a formula that says basically to find the median position. And the key word here is position, not the median number, finding the median position. What you need to do is take the number of numbers, add 1 to it, divide by 2, and that's the median position. So if I go back all the way to the very beginning, how many numbers do I have there? Well, I've got 1, 2, 3. I've got 3 numbers. So my median position, or med pos as I'm going to write, is 3 plus 1 divided by 2. So 4 divided by 2 is 2. So it says the second number in that list is my median. And there is my second number. And actually, yes, my median was 2. What about this one here? Does it work? So my median position is equal to the number of numbers. Now, in this situation, it was 11 plus 1 divided by 2. 12 divided by 2 is 6, and as it turns out, the 6th position, or my 6th number, was my median. Now again, I've made this ridiculously simple because I've used the numbers going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's not going to happen in the exam, and that's why you need to be very, very careful to make sure that you find the middle number. When you're using this formula, you're not finding the median, you're finding the position of the median. So if we look at this one here, my median position, now assuming that all of my numbers continue, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, up to 103, I have 103 numbers. Add 1, divided by 2, which gives me 104, divided by 2, which gives me 52. So my 52nd number in this list would be my median. That's incredibly important to actually know. Now, Cambridge, further textbook series. Thank you very much, Cambridge, for allowing me to use your videos. Stoked. It wants me to write down the median value. So I've written here the questions to ask. And I like to think of maths as sort of a recipe, as some sort of baking recipe, where you follow step by step by step by step. And further actually encourages you to think that way as well. So the first thing is, when I look at my numbers I've got here, 10, 1, 3, 4, 8, 6, 10, 1, 2, and 9, are they written in numerical order? No. So what I'm actually going to do is write them in numerical order. 1, 1, 2. Now, I'm going to cross them off so that I actually don't make a mistake. 3, 4. 6 is my next number. Then I'm assuming I've got 8, 9, 10, and 10. Now, the reason I'm crossing them off is actually as a check. And I do one more check. Count how many numbers I've got. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So I've now got the 10 numbers. What's the next thing I do? How many numbers are there? There are 10. Can I now work out which one is the middle number? I can, because my median position is given by the number of numbers, 10, plus 1, divided by 2, which is 11 on 2, which is 5.5. What on earth does that mean? Well, actually, it means it's between the 5th number and the 6th number. 1, 2, 3, 4, there is my 5th number, and there is my 6th number. And now I look at the middle value between 4 and 6. Now again, another awesome little tool for maths is, how do you find the middle number quickly? Well, in this situation, it's really simple. It's 5. We know it's 5. But when you have two numbers and you're trying to find the center of it, add the two numbers together and then divide by 2. So 4 plus 6 is 10, divide by 2 is 5. And so I know that for this set of information, my median is 5. Whoop whoop. Now, sadly, not all data in maths is given in a nice list. Remember, we're trying to test your understanding, not see whether you can actually count how numbers in a list. And so, having dealt with previous stuff before, let's have a look at finding the median from a dot plot. Here, ladies and gentlemen, is an example from, again, the further textbook series. And it's great. It says the dot plot opposite displays the age distribution in years of 13 members of a local cricket team. So obviously there, that bottom line, that axis has got what the data is trying to show me, and it says age in years. Always make sure you know what value or what units this is given in. Determine the median age of these cricketers and mark its location on the dot plot. So again, median. Although these are dots, they still stand for numbers. So what I'm going to do is count how many numbers there are. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. And you're sitting there going, hold on a moment, MaffsGuru, you didn't need to count. It actually told you. Absolutely, it told me in the question there were 13. So I know now that my median position is the number of numbers plus 1 divided by 2, which is 14 on 2, which is the 7th number. And all I need to do is make sure that I count the 7th number the right way. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and as it turns out, there is my 7th number. Now notice I was counting up the dots. If I did it from the other end, I would actually count down, because that's the way my numbers are ordered. So determine the median age of the cricket as it is. I would use that and say the median. I would say the median is equal to 7, and don't forget years. They would like you to write a unit, can't just write 7. What about the median from a stem plot? And please, if you can see the picture now, a veggie might begin to appear. Don't ruin the joke. What about the median from a stem plot? Exactly the same principle. This stem plot displays the maximum temperature in degrees C for 12 days in January. So I already know there's 12 data items. Determine the median. So the first thing I need to do is write the median position is equal to 12 days, so there's 12 numbers, plus 1 divided by 2, 13 on 2, which gives me 6.5, or halfway between the 6th and the 7th number. So how do I do that? Well, again, in this case, when I did my dot plots and I was counting up, I'm now going to just keep counting across. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, there is my 6th, and there is my 7th number. So it falls between the 5 and the 7. But again, this is a huge trick because remember our key. When we read these stem plots, we need to make sure that we understand what the data is showing us. And that's not 5 and 7, it's actually 25 and 27. So we need to make sure we find the number halfway between 25 and 27. And again, once we understand that, then we can write down that our medium would be equal to 26 degrees C. How do we know it's degrees C? Because they told me in the question here. So we now know how to do that, and that is awesome. Now I'm going to go back to a very basic idea of spread. And I don't know about you, but I am British and Australian as well. And I have to say, Vegemite, I know how you do it. If you like Vegemite, leave a comment below and please tell me what it is about Vegemite you actually like. Because to me, gross. In the United Kingdom, we have something called Marmite, which is equally as gross. And apparently they both taste different, but they're both gross. So my question to you is, when you have a piece of bread and you are buttering it or you are putting this Vegemite rubbish on it, do you go all the way to the corners? Do you want every morsel of that bread to be covered, or do you just puddle it in the middle? Me, puddle it in the middle and then spit it out because I still can't stand the stuff. But the idea of spread is exactly how far out do you go? Do you puddle it in the middle? Is it really close to the center? Is it moved out? Now, sadly, there's a bit of a problem with the range, and that is to do with outliers. Okay, so let's imagine I'm standing at the side of a road and I'm asking people's ages. Now, obviously, that's a weird thing to do, but anyway, for the question, we'll give it a go. So I get, I don't know, 12 and 18, 35, 60, 42, 38, 19, and then someone comes along and goes -6. Now, sadly, I can't sit there and sort of deck the guy, not that I would suggest doing that, and say, it can't be -6, dude. Can I have an actual number? Because that's what he's given me. That's the data that I have with me. And now, that is most definitely an outlier. But look what it does to my range. If I didn't have the number -6, then my range would go from my highest value to my lowest value. So my range would be, what would that be? 48. But without -6 in it, my range actually goes 60 minus -6, which gives me 66. So that one number there has completely thrown my range, which is why using range and outliers, or using range, not great. So what we can do is we come up with a different way of looking at the spread of data. Now, you guys over in Australia have this horrible thing called the VCE, and I am desperately, desperately sorry about that. Don't like the VCE in any way, shape or form, just because it's a bit of a competition and it's all a bit of a black box. How do we know as a teacher what you're going to get? You're competing with everyone. These sacks are all thrown in and it's not great. But what I want you to do is realize that we can split data into, let's say we've got something here that you're going to meet more later called a bell curve. Now, actually, the VCE splits it into 6 sections. I want to imagine that we're actually going to split this into half and then half again. Now, I like to think of everything in my life as a cake, because who doesn't like cake? And if I want to split things into quarters, I'm going to split it in half, and then I'm going to split those halves in halves again. So then we get my quarters. So this data here is a quarter of my data, that there is a quarter of my data, that is a quarter of my data, and there is a quarter of my data as well. But I want to think in terms of percentages. So there is 25%, there is 25%, there is 25%, and there is 25%. Now, we've just said that outliers suck. We don't like outliers, and so I'm going to try and ignore them. So basically, bearing in mind outliers might be here and here, either end of that bell curve. Well, I'm now going to say I'm not interested in the outer 25% of my data. I'm going to redefine my range, and I'm going to come up with a whole new term that goes just the middle 50% of my data. And there we go. Life is good. That's the key point here. As I say here, and all of these notes can be downloaded from MaffsGuru.com, we're looking at splitting the data into quartiles so that we can actually ignore the N2 quarters and just look at the middle 50%. If we do that to all of our data, then outliers have nothing to do with anything. And because Barry's been at it, we call this middle 50%, this difference between the highest quarter and the lowest quarter, the interquartile range. So IQR, inter, between, quartile, well, quarters, the middle quarters, and the range is the difference between them. Barry loves a good old formula. And so he's called the IQR, Interquartile Range. Q3 minus Q1. Now what the chuffing heck is Q3 minus Q1? What I'm going to do is I'm actually going to draw something called a box plot. And I love box plots. Now this is an overly simplified box plot because it doesn't show outliers. But what we actually have is we can show that our data is split into, again, 25%. This here is 25%, this is 25%, this is 25%, and this is 25%. Now, what it actually turns out is that this little line here stands for my lowest value. And so hopefully that value there, you are all aware, stands for my highest value. What about this line here? Well, it's smack bang in the middle, and so Dolores, no. Medium, yes. So this one here is the median. So what it actually turns out is, bearing in mind we're not interested in this upper 25% or lower 25%, and we've got to find the range of something, this value here is called my upper quartile. And because we've got to give it some stupid word or some sort of let up, that's called Q3. And then hopefully here you're going to be happy to know that that's called the lower quartile, and we call it Q1. Now we'll come back to Q1 and Q3 in a later video, but I suppose the point of this is, how do we now find the interquartile range? Well, it's simple. As I've just said above, you've got to find the upper quartile, you find the lower quartile, and these are actual values, and you take them away from each other. That's simple. So I'm going to do an example because obviously examples make life a lot easier. Use the stem plot. So there's a stem plot. Again, make sure we understand that the key stands for 5, 2, 52. To determine the quartiles, Q1 and Q3, the interquartile range and the range are for life expectancies. So not only does it want the interquartile range, it wants the range as well. And it says very kindly the median is at 73. So the median's at 73. I just want to check that because how many data items do we have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. So there are 23 values. Add 1 and divide by 2, which gives me 24, which gives me the 12th value. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. There is my median. Now, as soon as I've identified my median, it no longer counts. That's my middle value. What does this have to do with the price of fish? Well, as it turns out, remember, we have a cake. By finding the median, I've cut it in half. I now need to take each of those new halves and cut them into half again. Now, sometimes it's actually easier to write the data out. Write the data out. My language there just got very Southern English. Now, if you look at the bottom of the screen at this moment in time, and I know my visage is currently covering it, we notice all I've done is written the numbers out. 52, 55, 56, 64, 66. Now, the reason I've done this is to actually make it much easier. I'm going to take that 12th data item, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. So there we go, ladies and gentlemen. We now know that that's my median. The reason we're finding that is because I now have my other halves of my cake I need to cut. So looking at this half here, let's cut that. How do we do that? 1, 2 off the front, 1, 2 off the end, 1 off the front, 1 off the end, 1 off the front, 1 off the end, 1 off the front, 1 off the end. And ladies and gentlemen, that value there is now my lower quartile, which we will call Q1, just to keep Barry happy. Now what do? Well, I've cut one half of my cake into quarters. Now let's do the other half of my cake into quarters. There we go. 1, 2, 3 off the end. 1, 2, 3 off the end. 1 off the end. 1 off the end. 1 off the end. And 1 off the end. And there we go. 75 is my upper quartile, or Q3. And how do we find it? Well, remember my IQR. I don't know what's going on with my pen today. My IQR is Q3 minus Q1. So moving this up, what is my Q3? It's 75 minus my Q1, which is 66. So my interquartile range is 9. Now again, what does that mean? It means the range of my middle 50% is 9 scores or 9 years or whatever it was this was dealing with. Have I finished the question? No, because it actually then said to make sure to go on and find the range. So remember that the range, which we don't like, but yeah, it's all right, is the biggest number, which is 77. Here's my biggest number, minus my smallest number, which is 52, which gives me 20 and 5. So my big range, my range between the highest number and the smallest number is 25, but my interquartile range is 9. Is there anything else I needed to find just to make sure? Let's just check the question. The IQR and the range for life expectancies. So because they were life expectancies, I should have written my answers in years. Now, you didn't have to write out all that data. We could have used that stem and leaf diagram to help me find this, or that stem plot, because again, when I split my data here, this was my median. What could I have done? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. There are 11 data items on the left of my median. So 11 data items, add the 1 divided by 2 tells me that my lower quartile would have been the 6th number. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And lo and behold, 66 is what we wanted, and 66. Now, the funny thing is, because it was the 6th data item from the beginning, it's also the 6th data item from the end. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, which gives me 75, which is exactly what we came up for. Now, if you didn't understand that, that's fine. How you do this is totally up to you. But I'm pretty sure that that is the end of this lesson on the median range and interquartile range. Thank you so much for watching. If you haven't already done so, in just a moment, a circly thing will come up over there that will allow you to subscribe. Please do so, and please let your friends know that these videos are there to try and help. They're tied into the Cambridge textbooks, and actually their examples are freaking awesome. Otherwise, there's a video loading just below it. It's been good to see you. Thank you very much. Take care, have an awesome day, and I'll see you again. MaffsGuru, out.